Hey guys, sorry for the lack of content lately. I have been working on stuff, I promise. I've been working on a Pikmin 4 and 3 hybrid video of sorts. I was working on the script for that when Animal Well came out, so I had to shift focus to working on that. And just as I finished recording all my footage and making the script for that, Thousand Year Door came out. So now I'm doing an impressions video for the new Paper Mario Thousand Year Door release on Nintendo Switch, or should I say the remake. Wow, 2004 is when this game came out, so 20 years ago. God, this thing belongs in a museum. It's basically a relic at this point, and it's still a masterpiece to this very day, so leaping into this new remake is going to be exciting. So, initial impressions of the remake. I love it so far. It is so charming. The original was very charming as well, but it's not just the updated visual graphics that make the new version so charming. They gave each character different facial expressions when you talk to them. Some characters have their own little sound bites for when they're talking instead of the generic ones from the original. The original game kept the shady merchant at the start kind of vague, but I think based on the dialogue, I think I know who that might be now. And that's a nice touch. I never knew that about that little mystery character. Like, characters actually have reactions when you hit them with their hammer. That's something that I did admittedly try in the original several years ago, but, you know, you can't do it in the original. It's, your hammer just goes through people, their model just kind of stares at you like, yeah, what the fuck ever. You're hitting me, I don't care. And there's so many miscreants in Rogueport you just want to smack. I do find it funny that when you hit them with the hammer, they don't react. I mean, they do react in a way, but like, afterwards they completely forgive you. They act like it didn't happen. Just once I want to meet a character that you hit with your hammer and then, like, it breaks out into a fight. Like, some guy is just like, hey punk, you can't just hit me with your hammer and get away with it, and then just, like, an optional fight breaks out. I haven't really been tuned into too much of the Thousand Year Door discourse lately, but I did hear about the, frame rate, debate, I guess, or the frame rate debacle. The original runs at 60 FPS and this new remake runs at 30, and I gotta be honest, I don't really care. I know there are some people who, for whom this is a complete deal breaker. They have no interest in getting this game now because the original ran at 60 and the, remake running at 30 is unacceptable in their eyes, but the game has so many graphical polishes that a 30 frames per second rate is preferable so long as it remains steady, as opposed to 60 FPS frame rate that drops and loses frames constantly. Now, I will say there are times in which I have seen the frame rate drop, mainly when there's a lot of shit on screen, like at the very beginning when a bunch of those, goons, those little minion guys are on screen. I know they're called X-Nauts, but... So that makes me nervous. I haven't seen the frame rate drop anywhere else, just like that little beginning area when there's a lot of goons on screen. That is kind of disappointing though, because, so the original didn't lose any frames at that part, but to counteract that, the resolution was lower. Like, some of the X-Nauts, when you look at them, you can see they're a little bit jaggy, you know, they're just like a still image. You can see their pixels kind of moving up and down. That could just be my capture software, but then again, it is a 20-year-old game, so such is to be expected. I guess I can understand the frame rate drop in this instance when they're tossing a lot of high-rendered, very smooth-looking models on the screen and just throwing them all at you at once. I can understand in that aspect how the game can't keep up. It is a little disappointing because Pikmin 4 runs so smoothly and you have a lot of units on screen there doing all kinds of things, but... and those are also high-resolution models, but like... I don't know, the Pikmin are just kind of doing generic animations, whereas these are like... flailing all around, grouping up into a ball and jumping out and then jumping back into a ball. It's a lot to process. I did notice some different dialogue sequences that happen. Like at the beginning when you're traveling with Goombella or you're talking with Goombella, the Pianta goons roughed up the two Robos over by the inn while you're talking to Toadsworth, whereas in this remake, that happens a lot sooner, and in fact, Mario and Goombella pause to address what's happening before they continue their conversation. That's a really nice charm. I actually like that a lot. Whereas in the original, it just kind of happened in the background and, you know, none of the characters addressed it. It was just kind of like a little piece of eye candy. In this one, the fact that they actually turn to look at what's happening before they continue their conversation, that's nice. I like that a lot. That's really funny. And plus I just love Goombella here. The fact that she turns, she sees these Pianta guys beating up the two Robos, and then she turns back and she's like, man, I hate it here. There are freaks and weirdos everywhere. It's nasty. Like, she does not give two shits about the fact that two guys are being roughed up in the back. One very odd thing that I'm kind of upset about, but at the same time kind of not. The noose has its own hitbox now, and you can't jump through it as Mario. You kind of just like hit a wall and you have to go down and around, and you just kind of like smack up against the side of it. You don't really jump through it like you can in the original. It's not a huge deal by any stretch of the imagination. I just find it funny that the developers even bothered to put the noose back in. And that they even went so far as to give it its own hitbox so that you can't just jump through it. They probably knew that some people didn't play the original, and so they're gonna come in and see the noose and be like, what the fuck? So when you enter the east side of Rogueport, a bandit guy runs past you and steals half your coins. In the original, Goombella straight up points this out to you and is like, hey Mario, pay the fuck attention, that guy just stole half your coins. Ugh, I hate this town. In the remake, it shows your coin counter go down, but it's not addressed. Goombella doesn't say anything about it. She's just like, well, that guy was rude. He just ran into you and ran off. Now, you can actually get your coins back, and I did this in both the original and the remake, just to kind of show you that you can in fact get your coins back. You don't have to just take that and walk away. You can find them in this little back area of the main plaza of Rogueport in this danky little house. And the guy does basically say the same thing, but again, they gave him a new facial expression when you talk to him a second time. I love how much more dank they made it in the remake, though. It's so dark and foreboding, and you can just... I don't know if any of you have ever been in a dingy, dark apartment. I can tell what that place smells like. It's not pleasant. Just all the garbage, all the gross paper on the floor, all the stains on the wall. Like, I get the feeling that smells like cigarettes and maybe beer. Like, I know they definitely wouldn't ever show that in a Nintendo game, but look, there's even bottles in the back. You can tell this guy's a drinker and a smoker. He's kind of a bum. Oh, one thing about the controls that I'm not a huge fan of, you use A to jump and B for your hammer attack, which, I get it, it is just like the GameCube controls, but I'm not using a GameCube controller. A is on the right for me, and B is on the bottom. That feels so unnatural for me. I wish there was an option in the menu to change the controls so that you can swap what buttons do what. Because I keep reaching for B to jump, and A, and I want to use Y for the hammer. Or even A for the hammer, you know, something other than B. Because I just played Animal Well, so I'm so used to jumping with B, and now I'll go to jump on something and I end up swinging my hammer like an idiot instead. Oh, and it was while I was messing around with a hammer that I learned that you can hit people. Again, they don't acknowledge it in any sort of way after you hit them, but still, the fact that you can and they have a little reaction animation is just adorable and a level of polish that I'm really glad they added. That means that after you get your coins back from that sucker, you can go back and assault him. Yeah, what the fuck are you gonna do? That's why you don't take my coins. I'm surprised there's not a surprise battle with this bandit in the back. He straight up says, don't tell anyone you saw me here or I'll bonk you. And then you hit him with your hammer and he does fucking nothing about it. What a pushover. What a little wimp. Another little bit of polish that I love is the fact that you can actually squish the roaches in this one and they'll give you a coin. Again, a little bit of polish that they didn't need to give us, and yet they did, and it's so cute. I love it. I tried that in the original after finding that out, and yeah, no, you can't do it in there. Your hammer just goes through it just like it goes through everybody else. Oh, so that's a pink paint bucket on the fence there. I'll be honest, I thought that was like part of the fence, like an old hinge or something from the original, but no, that's a paint bucket. I never knew that. I'm glad they color-coded that. So in addition to the Piantas beating up the Robos at the beginning, there's also another dialogue difference that I noticed. When you first go down into the sewers of Rogueport, you come across a Goomba, a spiky Goomba, and a Paragoomba that all kind of start hitting on Goombella, and, you know, they're like, what are you doing hanging out with that mustachioed loser? Why don't you come join us? And, you know, it was like super awkward a little bit. Just, I guess that kind of thing in the original could have made somebody uncomfortable. To me, it was just kind of like, satisfying, I guess, to beat the hell out of those Goombas after they try to, you know, hit on Goombella. I was like, no, fuck these guys. She doesn't need to be romanticized in order to be an interesting character. Like, she's interesting on her own. Instead of having them hit on Goombella, they replaced it with, hey man, what's up? You think you can just waltz your way into our underground? Typical surface dwellers, breathing in clean air and getting to see the sun and all that. Fuck you, man, let's fight. And it's like, what? That is such a lame reason to pick a fight. But then again, it doesn't have to make sense. It's a Mario game. Like, what exactly about us makes us look like surface dwellers? These three could very easily have just a problem with Mario specifically and be like, hey man, I saw you stomp some of our friends back on whatever world. Like, they could easily reference any Mario game here. Instead of just being like, oh, surface dwellers, lame, let's kill them. Like, if they wanted to change the dialogue, they could have made it something a little bit more interesting, but you know what? Whatever. It's... Is it because Frankly has, like, glasses, Goombella has a headlamp, and Mario's wearing clothing, whereas these three just are not, I guess? Does that make us seem like rich, quote-unquote, surface dwellers? But, you know, whatever. And I haven't really tested the timing between the two specifically, but I feel like the window for pulling off a stylish move is bigger in the remake than it was in the original. And you can tell I'm kind of a veteran at playing Thousand Year Door because I'm doing stylish moves in the beginning areas for a crowd of nobody. That's how you can tell it's me playing both of these. Oh yeah, and then these, quote-unquote evil chests that give you new abilities after you find a key. I love these guys. Talk about a unique way to give you a new power. It's this demon creature, it's like this mystical creature demon thing that's inhabiting a dark, ominous-looking black chest. And he's like, oh man, come on, help me out, get a key or something, help me out, you're the legendary hero, only you can help me. It's been an age since anybody can hear me, only the legendary hero can hear me. Even though you clearly have two companions that can also hear me, but it's you, man, you have to help me. And then you do get the key for him, you're like, okay, here, whatever, and he's like, ha ha ha, fools! Fucking sucks to be you, man. I can't believe I got you, you're so stupid and easily tricked. I burned you, what did you think was gonna happen? I was gonna help you? What an idiot you are. But it's like totally, what's the word? It's very hard to take him seriously, because this guy is awesome, I love this guy. Do you want to hear all about the sweet curse I just dropped? Then listen well, idiot! Oh, but hey, he's not a completely amoral cursed box, he's still kinda generous enough to give you an explanation on how to use your new curse. Yeah, okay, you're on the panel. Now try pressing Y, and then BAM! You're a paper airplane! Sure sucks to be you right now, doesn't it? I like this one how it's an actual tutorial that lets you play with the mechanic a little bit. Try it now and suffer total aerodynamic humiliation. He's like a very well-meaning bully, I guess, like somebody who wants to be your friend but doesn't have the social skills to straight up tell you that they want to be friends, so they're just like doing these things that are quote-unquote mean, meanwhile they're totally kind and helpful. They're like, whatever, it's like a tsundere, really. Now when you've had enough airplane shame, press B to deplane and get back to normal. I'll see in the original, he was like, oh, and if you press B, you might turn out of being a paper plane. Maybe. So be honest, do you fully understand the peril this curse has bestowed upon you? Oh, in the original, he's like, do you fully understand how awful this curse is for you? And your options are like, yes, I get it, it's terrible. And your other option is, I zoned out. What was that? Oh, I love those guys. I love the dark demonic chest guys. Talk about an addition they seriously didn't need to put in, but man, it adds so much charm and humor to the game. I love those guys. So this might be a small thing I noticed, but in the original, when you get to the Thousand Year Door and Mario's holding up the map and the camera spins around you, both Goombella and Frankly are always staring right at you. Like their generic face models are always facing you no matter what direction the camera is pointing. It's kind of like that Mickey Mouse effect, if you will. But in this remake, they actually have models for when they're facing away from you, and they do actually face away from you when the camera is appropriate. Like they're looking at the map. They're not looking at you at all times. They're not facing the camera at all times. They're looking away at times. They actually have back models. And I can really appreciate that in this. It's a nice little polish. That being said, there are some graphical things that I'm not a huge fan of. The game does look graphically amazing. It is so much cleaner than the original. The resolution is better. The frame rate might not be 60 FPS, but it doesn't have to be because of just how polished everything else is. But so after Mario holds up the map and it reveals where the first crystal star is, there's this little like shimmery effect to show that you just unlocked a thing. And in the original, there's like this huge flash thing, and then this there's this effect where like the screen kind of, I want to say, rippled and like peeled away, like layers of the screen outwards, like a circular motion, before the big flashy finish of showing the map with a white background to reveal that a new location on your map was revealed. In this one, they really dulled that effect down. Like, there's a ring wave kind of thing that shoots out really fast, and then there's another wave that kind of goes out a little bit slower, but the screen doesn't peel away the pixelated layers like it did in the original. And then the effect that shows the map is a lot smaller. It's like golden now instead of white, and it's very tiny. It's a very minor thing to be sure, and I'm sure I might just be the only one who was affected by that, but I kind of missed the original effect. It was pretty cool. That's just my opinion, though. For shits and gigs, I decided to do the tutorial that showed off Sweet Treat because that was the one star power thing I was never really good at. Plus, it's a good tutorial to show you how the crowd effect works. Now, I only played up to the part where you get the first location, or you get the location of the first crystal star on your map, and then Frankly does a little tutorial thing with you on how to use your special abilities and how to manage the crowd, and then that's it. So there might be some things that are introduced later in the game that were introduced up to this part in the original. When you're going through this tutorial, Frankly tells you about the whole crowd management thing and how, based on how you do your action commands, you can either gain or lose crowd members. And something that's kind of disappointing, I haven't seen any audience members throw something at Mario. Like, in the original, people would throw hammers at you or helpful items or whatever, and you could press X to get rid of them. If you got rid of somebody who was gonna give you a helpful item, other crowd members would leave, because yeah, I wouldn't want to hang around if, you know, I was at a concert and I was about to throw something really cool up to the people that I like, and then like somebody hit me and then escorted me out. I'm sure my friends would follow. But if I was gonna throw a hammer, then yeah, I should be escorted out of the building. If not, like, detained, you know? But I haven't seen that gameplay feature yet. I really hope it's not taken out in this remake, because that was such a fun part of this, is managing the crowd. I also didn't see the slot thing that they do. During this tutorial in the original, Frankly also showed you the Shine Sprite slot machine thing, where you can get some random symbols as you play the game, and you have a chance to hit it big by randomly playing slots and trying to hit A for the last one at the perfect time to get something really cool. If you got 3 Shine Sprites, like all your stuff would be filled, all your HP, your flower points, your star points, all that stuff, and your crowd would be maxed out. But if you get 3 poison mushrooms, I don't know what happens, actually. I never got that, but Frankly says it's something very bad, so, you know, I'm inclined to believe him. I really hope they didn't get rid of that in this. So I went in to do the tutorial for Sweet Treat, and I couldn't help but notice something when the crystal stars came out. I'm gonna pull up a specific screenshot from my playthrough that I want to go over. Here's the screenshot showing all 7 of the crystal stars from using Sweet Treat. These are the models that the crystal stars are based on in this game. This is what they're all gonna look like. I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of these, because they're all basically the same item, just with a different paint job. You know, they're all the same model, but just a different color. The originals were like that too, but they looked like actual crystals, 3D models, in what is otherwise a papercraft world. These ones just look like flat diamonds in a papercraft world, which does make them more fitting for a Paper Mario game, I suppose, but I just kind of like how the originals looked more than this. I'm sure that after I've played the games for a while, they'll grow on me, maybe, but I don't know, man, they just don't appeal to me, I guess. They're not bad looking by any means, they're just not like the original ones, and that's kind of disappointing. Because the original ones, after you got them, they would like spin around and like have all these big 3D model effects, and for all I know, these ones could too, but like in the original, the crystal stars actually appeared on your map, like what they actually looked like. Here, the crystal stars appear on your map as flat images that kind of look like the original crystal stars. It's kind of impressive how sneaky they are about that. You're like, oh yeah, here's Hooktail's castle, the rest of your map is all grayed out, and we colored this area so it's very easy to see what's happening. But instead of showing you the crystal star, here's an image of what the original kinda looked like. Again, it's not a huge deal by any stretch of the imagination. I am still having fun playing the game despite these little niggling annoyances. It's just unfortunate that, like, those things would catch my eye and I'd be like, wait a minute, wait, that's not what happened in the original, or the original did this better or did that better. Like, I'm still willing to give this game a chance. You know, like I said, these are just my first impressions, and for all I know, I could totally change my mind by the end of it. I've seen it argued here and there that, like, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door fans will never be satisfied, and that thing mainly came up because of the whole 30 FPS versus 60 FPS issue, but I disagree with that statement. You know, different players play video games for different reasons, and there's nothing wrong with two different players having a different opinion about what they want from the same game. Somebody could easily chalk my minor complaints up to being spoiled and not being satisfied and whatever. There are elements in this game that I prefer over the original, a lot of elements that I prefer over the original, but there's just a couple of tiny annoyances that I prefer from the original. You know, people have different preferences, different favorites, different things that they like versus dislike, you know? If everybody liked the same thing, nothing would be interesting. There are a lot of little graphical polishes that make this game shine a lot brighter than they did on the original. Like, okay, the room with the 1,000-year door, for example. For some reason in the original, there's this gross looking, like, I guess, filter when you are in the room with the 1,000-year door. You know, it's the iconic 1,000-year door that the entire name of the game is based on. And for some reason, every time you hold up your map in this room, or just whenever you're in this room, there's this weird yellow filter that makes everything look slightly urine-like. I mean, it could just be like it's supposed to be like the yellowing of the pages of a book or something. It's supposed to signify age. This door is very, very old. It's 1,000 years old. Maybe more. That's why it's called the 1,000-year door. But it's kind of gross looking, if I'm honest. Like, this entire time, you just have this filter in the back. Like, in the background has this filter of, like, yellow and grossness. Like, this place is old. I get it. It's supposed to make the place look like it's old because it is. Like, they put more effort into making the place look old and decrepit instead of letting a color filter determine that, you know? And I gotta say, even approaching the 1,000-year door at first, it is so beautiful. A little bit odd how clean the door looks. Maybe a little bit of rust here or there can make it look a little bit old, but you know what? It's still beautiful. It looks great. I love it. I feel like if one of those doors did break and fell to the floor, I could eat my dinner off it because it looks so clean. And I appreciate them not using that god-awful yellow filter in this room. And those little white outlines on all the characters, oh, they just look so good. They do actually look like little papercraft characters, but they're not just like flat images. They have light coming off them, and they look so nice. Alright, so final thoughts. I can see how the 30 frames per second thing might bum some people out and prevent them from wanting to play this game. But I gotta be honest, if I'm looking at something even more beautiful than the original image, I will happily take a slower game if it means I get to enjoy what I'm looking at more than, you know, a low resolution, always staring at you, always staring straight at the camera character model. You know, I love what I'm looking at. I am enjoying the remake so far. It is beautiful. They handle something so much better. The characters are more expressive. The world feels more alive and more fun to interact with. It's just, they did a great job so far. And even though there are certain design elements that are not really clicking with me, I'm hoping that with enough time, I can overlook that and still enjoy the game for what it is. So yeah, I'm loving the game so far. I hope I continue to love the game, and I'll get a review out for it sometime in the future. That being said, I was really hoping to finish up Animal Well before I moved on to this game, but goddammit, this just had to drop on my day off, didn't it? And, yeah, I have this itch to play it. I want to keep playing it. You know, it's right here. Types of audience members. What? Like friendly ones versus not friendly? Toads only throw good stuff. Oh, so each one specifically throws specific ones. Okay, I never paid attention to that. Toads throw only good stuff. Luigi throws really good stuff, but doesn't show up often. Goombas and Dull Bones only throw trash, so watch out for those guys. Shy Guys throw good stuff, trash, or even just charge into the stage and cause accidents sometimes. Yep, nothing about Hammer Bros, though.